Schedules. I'm the Director for Stakeholder Relations and Dissemination here at StatsSA, and I have the privilege of being your Program Director today. So as we start, I would like to say a special word of welcome to our principals, our Statistician General, Risenga Maluleke, the DG from the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Domfundo Chabalala, and then also the SAMBI CEO, Shonisani Unzeze. And I would like to request, if we really want to put a group photo of the three of you, and we do realize that your schedule's very tight. So if you would please just come and stand in front of the StatsSA banner here so we can take an official photo of you, and then we will get started with the proceedings for the day. Thank you. That's one of the joys of being a photographer. You can get people to do pretty much anything, irrespective of who they are. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third Natural Capital Accounting Forum. There are some papers in your program or in your packs that is quite important. There's a participant engagement program, and since this is about natural capital accounting and the environment, in an effort to save some trees, instead of printing out stacks of documents, there is a QR code on there that you can use to access some of the documentation, as well as the program that will tell you what is going to be happening. But in the interest of time, I am now going to hand over to the Statistician General, Mr. Risenga Maluleke, to make his opening remarks. SG.
Let me greet you, Program Director, or should I say Master of Ceremonies, although in my village, a Master of Ceremony or Master of Ceremonies has different roles. So let me greet you, Tracy Daniels. And indeed, before I greet you all, which I will come to, I just want to plead with our good selves that we must be careful who we clap hands for before they speak, because they may not meet our expectations. And I'm one of those people who have never met people's expectations. Let me greet Ms. Nomfundo Chabalala, who is the Director General of the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, a department that has gone through a lot of truncations. Every now and then it changes names. When there's an announcement for a cabinet reshuffle or a new government, it has gone through so many changes. There was one time that when we were talking about the work that we all do here, and I was seated with her, Joe, in the same room where we were seated last week. She was having a lot of headache, or she looked to be carrying a lot of responsibility because she had a lot of work. Let me greet Mr. Shonisan Munjezi, the Chief Executive Officer of the South African National Biodiversity Institute. Tracy, we're going to put you in this holding room and train you to say Munjezi until you learn to say it. Let me also greet Mr. Joe De Beer, Mr. Joe De Beer sits there, is one of the deputies at Stats SA. I want to avoid to say the Deputy Statistician General. Somehow, the Statistician General carries representative power all the time. Even when I'm in a sick bed, I carry representative power until I'm asked not to be one. So we have a few deputies, but they are not called the Deputy Statistician General because we want to make it the contest easier the day I leave office. If you start calling them one, the aspirations get bigger. And he's one of those who want to see me gone one day. So we put him a deputy to remind him that I'm still here. Thank you, Joe. Let me also, I realize in the opening session we have Muku Makanyane, who is from Sanbi Youth. Let me also take note of Muku. And let me proceed to say, let me greet all of you representatives from government agencies, government departments, development banks, indeed private sector entities, research agencies and non-governmental organizations, traditional leaders, traditional health practitioners, youth, civil society organizations in the natural capital accounting data ecosystem. I got a call before I proceed from a traditional leader. And you never ask how people get, when you are in this job, you never ask. It's a rule when you aspire to be statistician general or director general, you never ask how someone got your number. It's in the public space. You address the issues. So the traditional leader, we engaged on a lot of things, and but they wanted me to come and talk at one of their engagements. And when I explained to them the work that we do in the natural capital accounting data ecosystem, they were actually surprised. But I also asked for some muti to keep next to my chair in the event Joe and them have aspirations. The Sangoma said, the traditional healer said, if you come to our meeting, we'll give you the muti. So I'm still looking forward to get that muti, Joe. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the third gathering of the National Capital Accounting Forum. And indeed, this is it's taking place in the fourth year of the implementation of our strategy. And just ahead of the National Women's Day, and we're looking forward to hearing voices from women as well. It's very critical that we place our women in the right stage, because in most meetings that I attend, I tend to see fewer women. Yet our statistics are indicating that we have a lot more women. 51% of our population is women in South Africa, but not only in South Africa, all over the world. The forum offers an opportunity to reflect on our achievements in terms of implementation of the national NCA and of course strategy, and of course look at global commitments for the greater collective impact in the national capital accounting data ecosystem, particularly for our country and indeed for the continent. Let us not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that the underlying premise of the national capital accounting is that environment is essential in relation to society and the economy. If we forget that, we will have to learn a tough way. And I think I need to tell a story which I may have told previously or in other gatherings. When I was small, we used to go to the river. It's not far away from home. We used to swim all day long, and our mothers would tell us that there may be crocodiles. And we had seen some of the crocodiles. And many of you will know what village kids go when they want to swim, where the crocodiles are. They go in a group. If they spot the crocodile first, they go in a group. They harass the crocodile until it's out of the water so that they can swim. If they haven't seen it and they are swimming, and it happens to catch one of them, as long as it doesn't take them by surprise, they harass it until it goes out of the water. And you know it builds lactic acid, so it will be sluggish at some stage. So you have enough to swim for all the time. If you have never grown up in the village, this is a story to tell. Now, imagine playing that cat and mouse game with the crocodiles. And our mothers would always tell us, be careful of the crocodiles. We will tell them we are not seeing them, and we're seeing them there every day. But today that river has gone dry. There are some fruits berries that we used to take. Those berries are no more. Just over the weekend, I was about 300 kilometers outside the capital of Nairobi in a place called Kitui. And I kept asking them, because I was talking about this meeting that we are coming to have, if the berries they used to eat when they were small are still there. They said they are no more. So we need to understand, as the global statistical community, we have to work hard to strengthen the area of measurement on environment, especially that it comes from a space where nobody worries about until they learn the harshest way, like the story of ourselves and the crocodiles back home. And this, of course, including an update of the system of national account, which was previously underrepresented in connection to the economy and the environment. So when you look at the environment particularly, we haven't actually taken much care of that area. And I know it when we go to meetings at the United Nations, how much we haggle about this issue. Maybe I should say, Joe, we haggled a lot around 2007 up to 2010, 2011. These days, everyone takes serious the issues of environment, especially after the Kyoto Protocol. But then there was also another one of a geopolitical nature that was taking place, and I guess geopolitics are part of our lives. Statistics South Africa supports all these initiatives and is proud to do so. Of course, the NCA is fundamental and critical in the way we collaborate and we do our work in terms of partnerships, and of course demonstrate that as we gather here today, we are serious about our work. Stats SA has a small environmental accounting directorate. I saw some of them. Where is Rian here? Yeah. He's a bit tall, but the directorate he leads is quite small. And of course, we know that such is at Sanbi. And of course, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment has a lot of challenges that they face in terms of empowering that directorate, because we have limited financial resources in the state. However, we still continue to do our work. And as we do our work, I would like to urge all of us to deliberate on how this gap could be closed, especially that we have a relationship with research agencies and other partners. And of course, there are also there's also the university sector and the academia that we could tap our reach in. The system of environmental economic accounting is an internationally agreed facility in terms of statistical standards, and of course it brings together economic and environmental information into a common framework, one, to measure the conditions of environment, two, to contribute to the environment, to contribute in terms of the contribution of the environment to the economy, and of course, three, the impact of the economy on environment. We see every day trucks going to our airport. So the other time I was in one of our neighboring countries, I was so worried when I saw in the morning and in the evening the kind of fumes that come from vehicles. You know, we are one of the countries that do not allow reconditioned engines on our space. But some of our countries do allow them. And of course, so that our brothers and sisters can also reach and have those vehicles once they've run their lifespan in Japan and the like. But the fumes that are deposited into the space are much more serious. And not only that, sometimes we think because we have a border with some of these countries, we have resolved the problem. Environment knows no boundaries. So one of the things that we need to deal with as the NCA Forum is to make sure that we deal with matters that will help us go forward and understand the impact beyond the borders. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change and loss of biodiversity are amongst the most critical issues of our time, and its impact becomes more evident every day. And indeed, as we have seen, and as we have heard in the story of our hide and seek with the crocodiles, the measure of climate change and its impact on the economy and society is growing and a growing area of concern. Indeed, worldwide, it is a growing area of concern, and indeed for us as South Africans, and of course for our neighboring countries. And of course, we have to make sure that we get a suite of natural capital accounts that will help us to deal with the future and reposition the future for those who will take it after us. This is even more relevant given that climate change will be an issue that will be discussed not from today, but even in the future. And of course, the bill has been signed into law as we talk by the President of the Republic of South Africa. That was in July 2024, if I remember very well. So July 2024 is not like July 1994 or 1924. It's just a month ago. To make sure that it leaves, this was that law. It means it's ourselves. We are the ambassadors that must drive it. There's no other person who will drive it. I'm excited to share that Stats SA, in collaboration with key entities, presented a national strategy on the NCA to Cabinet in 2022. Of course, we remember that very well. We know we work together. Let me mention also that the national capital account in South Africa is growing faster than the current institutional capacity. So now we have a challenge. The environment, climate change, the environment are changing faster. It means our institutional arrangements must catch up. If you don't believe me, just sit and put a yardstick somewhere, even a piece of a twig, put it somewhere next to a shade of a tree, and sit and watch it. The distance you see between that shade and the stick tells us that environment is moving at a faster pace than we can catch up. How many times would you, if you are seated under the shade, stand up and have to move the stick to catch up with the shade? And if every second you have to stand up, it means the pace at which we are moving, if we are moving every year, we are moving a lot more slower. The people in the village where I grew up, if you tell them that the world is round, it's not flat, they will never believe you. So it means we must go and tell a story about climate change and challenges of environment to people like the people in my village who think the world is flat. That's when we will make it. Of course, as a way forward for the NCA in South Africa to be sustainable, there has to be a shift in the individual and organizational arrangements to support the production of the SEA account ready data and make sure that the SEA account, both within and outside our national statistical agencies, are fit for use and can be used. They say I must conclude. Joe was looking at me. He said, it's time you must conclude. I wish you well in your deliberations, and of course, in the next 2 days, I know that you will make some substantial impact in terms of the way we need to deal with these issues. And let me again share my appreciation in terms of having to have my two friends here, DG Nomfundo and of course Shonisani, who we have moved a long way together. When we were there in the holding room, I was saying to them that our seriousness is shown by our availability. Ladies and gentlemen, Program Director, I need to apologize that I never had enough time to write a shorter piece of my welcome. And it looks like the next page is blank. I thank you.
Okay, I would like to invite the Director General for the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Nomfundo Shabalala, to please come and give her opening remarks. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and thank you for inviting us here. And SG, when I look around, I do see ladies, so we are represented. Please do not worry, we are represented in terms of the statistics that you normally publish. And Program Director, Statistician General, Mr. Risenga Maluleke, the CEO of Sanbi, Mr. Shonisani Mujenzi. Tracy, I have also been gone through a lot of practice. Mujenzi. So you have that. I don't know whether Gogo Nomsa Spego is here. When I looked at the program, looked at the participants, I also was informed she's going to be joining this forum. She's one of our key stakeholders we normally engage with on biodiversity conservation. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am pleased to be able to engage with you on this at this important event. As already highlighted by the SG, and also in terms of the wealth of biodiversity that we have as a country, we do indeed have a diverse culture, remarkable geographical wealth, exceptional biodiversity that represents most of the valuable assets, natural assets, and much of which is unique to our nation. Our biodiversity wealth not only sustains physical needs by providing food in as far as food security, but it also provides medicine, it provides clean water, and it also enriches our spiritual lives, and it fosters connection and nature that nourishes our soul and mind. So it's a very key and a critical in terms of human life. Biodiversity harbors vast genetic diversity that offers innovations and can improve our lives and economy. It also sustains a healthy ecosystems that contribute to maintenance and delivery of critical ecosystem services upon which our economy and also our society depends on, especially in the face of the climate change. And I think you've highlighted, SG, we have recently have our bill being enacted by the President to enact in the last week of July, which then indicates that we now need to go into implementation in coming up with measures on how do we then deal with the impact of climate change. And proactively so, not necessarily, we are already faced by floods. You would have seen the floods, the fires, but as government, we have a responsibility to ensure that we proactively react such that we are not taken by surprise when all these disasters are happening. So as an important national asset, biodiversity is a powerful contributor to inclusive growth and inclusive growth and also job creation. Biodiversity contributes to the goals of National Development Plan by reducing poverty and inequality through stimulating the economy and also improving employment figures and building an inclusive economy. The National Biodiversity Assessment of 2018 indicates that jobs directly created from the sector of biodiversity totaled about 418,000, and this is most likely underestimated. We believe that there's more that this sector is contributing to the GDP of the country and also in terms of jobs. And South Africa has also made waves in creating an enabling environment to recognize the significance of national capital accounting through Cabinet, where Cabinet has approved a white paper on biodiversity conservation and sustainable use. And also the National Natural Capital Account Strategy, which has already been highlighted by SG. And we also have now a draft biodiversity economy strategy that went out for public consultation. So all these instruments are indeed contributing to the work that you are gathered to do today. In March this year, the department hosted an inaugural biodiversity economy and investment in Indaba, which was held under the theme Collective Action of Thriving People and Nature. Key discussion included the natural capital accounts and the need to fast-track implementation of the natural capital account strategy was indeed emphasized. As a department, we are committed to working with Stats SA and SANBI, which is our entity, in implementing the natural capital account strategy. And as a demonstration of our commitment, as a department, we have coordinated and submitted project proposals to the Global Environmental Facility to support work on natural capital account. The demand for the NCA has been increasing over time, both nationally and globally, while the capacity, and I think it has already been alluded that we also need to gear up in as far as our capacity to respond and ensure that the natural accounts work is taken forward. I therefore urge all our partners to collaborate in this work, and also as South Africa, we need to remain committed to contribute accordingly to the global commitments in line with natural capabilities and also circumstances. In conclusion, Program Director, as you are aware, South Africa is a party to various multilateral agreements, and natural capital accounting will also provide us with a national level environment indicator for the country in terms of the reporting on international obligation and agreements that we have, such as the SDGs and also the targets for the Convention on Biodiversity and also the land degradation neutrality targets, which are quite key in the global space. We look forward to a constructive deliberation and possible new partnership towards the collective efforts of implementing natural capital accounting in our country. I do see Gogo Nomsa walking in. Welcome, and I thank you, Program Director. Thank you.
Okay, CEO, I'm going to try this again and you can rate me when you come up here. So our next speaker is the CEO from Sanbi, Shonisani Munjetse.
Very well, very well. Thank you very much. Program Director, I feel dignified when you call me that way. I sometimes advise others just to say, if you can't, just say Bamsanda. It means chief. And then that's it, from the village. Thank you very much. We really appreciate the opportunity as Sanbi to come and be part of this event. This is not the first time. I remember the setting was similar in the first meeting when we came here. And to see, I was saying to our colleagues here before we came through to say, we come a long way with this. And the maturity of this program, I think is quite pleasing in the sense that it goes beyond the three of us as these three organizations or institutions that are represented here, but also the other partners that are represented here. I may not go through each and every one of the partners that have been acknowledged a bit earlier, I think by the DG and also by the SG, all protocol observed, if I may, for the sake of time. But we really want to affirm our commitment as Sanbi to this program in the manner that is framed, but also in the implementation. I remember the SG during the biodiversity economy in Dawa, when one of the accounts were being released, or the celebration of the release of one of the accounts, I think it had to do with the accounts for strategic water source areas. There was one line that you said when you handed over that document. I remember very well. You were saying to our politicians that I'm not handing over a report, I'm handing over more work, meaning that as the accounts come through, there's more work that needs to be done because they tell us and show us what needs to be done and where the state of affairs is. They always say that you don't know the value of what you have until you lose it. As much as you were talking to the village experiences, I thought of mine as well, because the water that we used to get was just close by, a walking distance to the fountain that never dried up. It's just history. Now we don't have that. Only to note that that fountain fed into the river or stream that fed into the river, that fed to the dam, to the reservoir, to households. That whole continuum was broken. So now when we started talking to strategic water source areas and the other accounts that have come through, tracking and tracing the changes that have happened over time, you then realize how much we may have lost. Sanbi has been proud to work closely with StatsSA and TFFE to make waves with the NCA. You will see the logo there, if I may call it the logo, but the way how it's framed and the theme for this event today and tomorrow, it's making waves. So we are part of making waves with NCA. This has put South Africa at the forefront of natural capital accounting, especially in relation to ecosystems accounting or ecosystem accounting. This partnership has blossomed, as I indicated, has grown from where it was then. Started with pioneering and advancing the value of NCA in 2014. Now we're counting, I think it's more than a decade ago. It's 10 years ago in actual fact, through natural capital accounting and valuation of ecosystem services projects that we had at the time. It was a project which ran for 3 years then. Into now we are starting to talk about ecological infrastructure for water security in South Africa. I remember DG when she was chairing the forum where all provinces come together. There was a presentation on ecological infrastructure. The call was that local government has to adopt this approach of providing and solutions through the use of ecosystems approaches other than bricks and mortar. So the engineering solutions in future would then have to be replaced by ecological infrastructure, and also calling on Treasury and others who are responsible for finances. I think SSA, when they put numbers as well along the same lines, it will affirm the same case to say you can save more with natural solutions than with engineering solutions in some of the challenges that local government is faced with, including stormwater attenuation and many other areas. With the extreme events that are coming, this is the way to go in dealing with or adapting to climate change. At each step of our efforts, at each step, our efforts have been instrumental in testing and pushing the boundaries of how we take stock of our natural resources and understand and manage our natural resources. As I indicated, you can't manage what you don't know. So just want to indicate here that just recently, SANBI has been appointed as what we call a sub-regional technical and scientific support center, meaning that we would have to coordinate the implementation of the global biodiversity framework from a technical and scientific support basis as SANBI, working with others for the sub-region. It's quite a step, a big step and big responsibility that will require all of us to continue to work together in discharging this responsibility. I think the SG, Statistician General earlier, indicated that environment knows no boundaries, and therefore would need to work with the SADC region in dealing with matters of biodiversity, including natural capital assets management and related programs. We are also part of what we call the Africa Natural Capital Accounting Community of Practice. There are 48 countries from our continent that are part of this process. So this is growing in leaps and bounds, and the value that South Africa brings into that space through the experiences that we've gained over the last 10 years will become, it's very, very invaluable, very, very important indeed. NCA heavily reliant on credible data, and therefore institutions responsible for data. I know it's not only SANBI in this case, it's not only SSA, it's not only TFFE, there are others here, I know SANSA, SION, there are many others, that should be part of this whole process, working together in dealing with all these matters in the manner that they are framed in the programs that we are working on. There are 5 accounts that have already been released. The one on land and terrestrial ecosystem, the accounts on protected areas, accounts on strategic water source areas as I referred to earlier, the subnational water resource accounts, and also the recent one, quite interesting, touching on the very critical area of our economy, on tourism, experimental biodiversity-based tourism and estimates. Very, very important indeed. So as we reflect on the decade of this partnership and the 4th year of the implementation of the NCA strategy, at this 3rd National NCA Forum, it's essential to align our efforts with the priorities of South Africa at this 7th government administration, or during this 7th government administration, including driving economic growth, as well as reducing poverty, unemployment, and inequality. So we are right at the center of that, because natural capital accounting touches on social issues, economic issues, political issues, cultural issues, and all other dimensions So our work in natural capital accounting is closely aligned with South Africa's national development plan. By assessing the biophysical aspects of our biodiversity, we not only showcase it as a vital national asset, but also emphasize its critical role in driving sustainable economic growth and ensuring economic stability, which is crucial for boosting investor confidence and fostering longer-term resilience. Quite interesting that we'll talk natural assets, natural endowment, biodiversity in the same vein as economic growth, and natural capital accounting will bring that. I was saying, SG, before you came with the colleagues as we were in the holding room, we're looking forward to the time that after you finish presenting your GDP accounts, then you will move into the NCA at the same level, because the argument is that these are matters of life and death. It's matters, water, and all ecosystems, goods and services. They cut across, as I indicated, all spheres and all sectors. It's a multi-sectoral issue that we need to be dealing with. As I move towards concluding, just want to indicate that the success of our natural capital accounting initiatives depends on robust partnerships. Alongside STSA, DFFE, and SANBI, are many other institutions and individuals and those that are committed to sharing knowledge and best practices, and also availing their data in the manner that is acceptable for statistics and also its national and international protocol. In conclusion, SANBI remains committed to support the NCA work. However, we note the capacity constraints in the form of both human and financial resources. That cuts across all partners in that sense, but we'll forge ahead and we look forward to a productive discussions and outcomes from this forum. I looked at the program, it's rich indeed, and a lot more that will take South Africa forward and better. I thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, CEO. I now invite Buko Makanyani from SANBI, who will speak on youth in SA. And since we're talking youth, we'd like to invite you to tweet along with us using the hashtags NCA Making Waves and NCA Forum 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. Greetings all. My name is Moho Makanyani. I'm a research assistant with the Natural Capital Accounting team at SANBI, and SG is Moho Makanyani. Yes, so two years ago, I stood here with a fellow young professional. He's actually sitting right there. Yes, he now works for an NGO and he will actually be presenting tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. We stood here and talked about the role of youth and the importance of involving youth in NCA. And then today, I'll just share some insights on the value created for and by youth through our involvement in NCA work. So, since the implementation of the National NCA strategy in 2021, 6 young people with fresh perspectives, futuristic views, and a passion for change have been directly involved in NCA work under STSA and SANBI through internship programs. We are all under the ages of 35 and we come from diverse parts of the country. And a few months ago, we were interviewed using the value creation framework, which evaluates value creation and indicates the diverse impacts of the social learning process. And according to the post-interview analysis, different types of values were created for and by youth in NCA. And the most prominent value created for youth was immediate value, which mainly focuses about our experiences in being involved in NCA work. And to give some context to those experiences, the youth in NCA have praised the mentorship, the teamwork, and the supportive environment that exists in the NCA space. The quotes on this slide reflect or highlight the great value we gain through our involvement in NCA work. One fellow young professional who's actually now an experienced professional in the banking sector, he said, and I quote, "If anybody asks you, tell them NCA made me." Another one said, "Being part of NCA has been a capacity building moment for me, which I will take with me for the rest of my life." This demonstrates that investing in and capacitating young people can drive transformative change and shows what an impact effective mentorship can make. Youth in NCA have also created value for NCA work in South Africa. We brought more recent data skills to improve data processing, analysis, and in visualization techniques. Our inquisitive questions about the what, the how, and the why have helped clarify many aspects of the NCA process. In addition to that, we have realized that another value add is that youth inspire. After our talk at the 2022 National NCA Forum with Luvuyo there about the role of youth in NCA, we realized that youth have a voice that is heard differently, and that is powerful. And while we celebrate the strides made in NCA thus far, the youth feel there's still a need to build more capacity, create more opportunities, and intentionally include young people. We also feel there's a need to mainstream NCA in schools and tertiary institutions to introduce young people to the field earlier on. We also feel we can use social media more creatively to make a strong case for NCA. And lastly, we feel we can work even more smarter and use or leverage artificial intelligence to make NCA a tool relevant in the 21st century. Therefore, as the youth in NCA, our call to action for the community of practice is straightforward and practical. It is important that more youth get involved in NCA. Beyond temporary programs like internships, more permanent positions need to be established to retain youth capacity and guarantee long-term sustainability of NCA work in the country. And lastly, it is imperative to make youth involvement an explicit part of proposals and the national NCA strategy. The strategy which the SG, the CEO, and the DG mentioned is getting reviewed or is due for review in 2 years. And embedding more youth capacity in NCA in the strategy ensures that we have a concrete plan for our actions to match our words. In conclusion, I quote a renowned social reformer, and it says, "The faces of young people are the faces of our past, our present, and our future. No segment in society can match with the power, idealism, enthusiasm, and courage of young people. The presence of youth in a sector or a community of practice signifies more than participation. It signifies a transformative force. And by intentionally including young people, we enrich not only the present, but we ensure a sustainable and vibrant future for NCA. Thank you."
Okay, and after that very inspirational presentation by Bucho, it is time for us, which has brought session 1 to a very resounding close, I think. You are invited to please gather for a group photograph. But it's not just going to be walking to get to the group photograph. If you look at your participant sheet, there are some questions there. So on your way to gather for the photo, please talk to someone that you don't know. I'm not too sure how big this community is, but I'm sure there will be at least one person you can find that you don't know. And ask them questions around what their involvement in NCA is and what it is that they find interesting or challenging. So how this is going to, you can leave your valuables, your laptops, etc. here, not because it's an emergency, but simply because we do have security who will be keeping an eye on this venue. So what you'll do is you'll go out, and then to the right, we'll go outside of the building and gather on the front steps where you parked. The security will open for us so we can sort of stream through instead of going out one by one. Once the photo is taken, you can come back for tea, and we are hoping to be back in the venue by 10:45. So as Leo said in his security presentation, please walk briskly. Thank you.